Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of The Monsters Den, Thursday night here on Sea of Tranquility. We've got a fun show for you planned here tonight, but first, let me introduce the crew. We've got, we'll start down below, Mr. Jamie Laszlo. We got Dan Brown in the house. The king himself, Chris Allo, is here. And the guy who's wearing the spectacular shirt, Mr. Craig Kaminski. Look at that. Nice. Taylor Monsters Den shirt, which you can get from the link down below in the video description. Go check that out, and many more Sea Tranquility shirts and things. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to thrill you with a ranking of the film series, The Final Destination. 5 films, loads of fun, not the most complex films of all time. Basically, kids getting killed in all sorts of unimaginable ways, and they are lots of fun. So we've got 5 films. We've each put them in the order that we prefer them. We're not going to go into too much plot discussion here. We may mention there's usually like one major plot scenario for each film that changes from film to film, but they all kind of follow a similar formula, and lots of spectacular kills. That's what they're all about. So we're going to start off with Craig. Give us his number 5, and then we'll work our way around the room till we get to number 1.
Okay, thanks. My number 5, I am going with number 4, which is The Final Destination. This is from 2009. The incident in this movie is a NASCAR crash at a racetrack. This movie, this one had the biggest budget, or at least tied with the biggest budget out of all 5 of these movies. Also the shortest, only 82 minutes, and this one made the most money. So it's at my bottom, but obviously lots of people out there did enjoy this movie. A lot of these movies have a lot of familiar faces with some of the actors and actresses. Either someone it's like, oh, I know that guy or I know that woman, or a couple of them that they're established. In part 4, the only one that I could spot with my eye was Michael T. Williamson, from Forrest Gump. It was the only familiar guy in this one. But this one, I have this one on the bottom because the CGI kind of blows, at least compared to the other movies, in my opinion. The male and female characters are all generally just kind of suck in this. At least in some of them, you always have like your jerk character, your slutty girl, and your the jock guy and things like that. This one, none of them were memorable. And this one also had the bad trope of it, just like a slasher movie. These movies work better with a female lead in them, and this one, there's a couple other ones that had a male lead, and they just don't work as well having that. Best kills was kind of funny. There's a racist guy who gets killed in front of a black guy's house while War's "Why Can't We Be Friends" is playing. I mean, you can't help but laugh at that. And the one jerk character gets kind of sucked through his ass in the bottom of a swimming pool. Yeah. But the best part of the movie was the nude scene before he gets sucked out through the pool, where he's with a hot chick in the pool house. And the final scene in this movie, there's use of green screen, which is awful. I mean, it's like made for sci-fi movie bad. So where they're in a cafe and a truck comes through, really, really shitty. And like I said, shortest movie out of all these, and they're all about an hour and a half, and this one was 82 minutes. So yeah, I've got number 4, The Final Destination, at the bottom of my ranking.
And just to give everybody kind of like to preface like what the main plot of all these films are, is that there's generally a group of people, mainly young people, who are going somewhere or getting ready to do something, and one person has a premonition that they see this impending disaster before it actually happens, and they try to get out of that situation, usually grabbing a handful of people with them, the situation happens, the disaster happens, they live, and then death is coming back to kill all of them later on because they all should have died during this disaster. That's basically the premise for every single film, although the disaster is always something slightly different.
And the premise is exactly what you said, Pete, but also that there's no escaping death.
Right.
So then death comes after the survivors, and
in order.
Yes, and in order that you were supposed to die. And the main thing is, everybody thought this was such an original idea, but there is a movie from the early 80s, which I saw many years ago, and I believe it was called Soul Survivor, Soul, and that was a plane crash. Dan's shaking his head, so he must have remembered. He probably remembers better than me.
It's that James Herbert novel, actually.
But see, there we go. So yeah, it's a simple, almost exact kind of thing. These people survive the plane crash, but then they die, one by one afterwards.
Yeah.
So and it really is kind of like, what do you guys, I think Craig mentioned the slasher film. It really is kind of like a slasher film after that, because people do get killed one by one, except it's like if the slasher literally was invisible.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Like that movie, The Boogeyman. Like that movie, The Boogeyman.
Yes, from 82 or 83 or 80.
80.
It's the only franchise that has this many movies where you can't put the villain on a T-shirt. You can't dress up like it for Halloween. It's got no selling points, really, which is really weird.
And other than Tony Todd, there's no returning characters. And he's 5 movies. I think he's only in 3 of them.
Yeah.
Ali Larter's in 2.
Ali Larter's in 2, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point, Jamie. Yeah, like marketing wise, they got nothing.
Yet they did good. They did good business.
They did good business.
And they stopped. And they stopped. I mean, they did. All of them did pretty well. They did 5, and I to be honest, I am shocked that there hasn't been one since.
I read that they're working on a 6th for the last couple of years, but COVID, put a slowdown.
They were all pretty successful and not going the route of like Paranormal Activity, where it was the law of diminishing returns. I mean, these were all generally
4 and 5 had the highest box office of all.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Five was higher than 4. They were getting more, and it's you'd run out of ways to die. It's
apparently not.
And I mean, since we're talking about the franchise as a whole, they originally thought, well, maybe if the first one does well, we'd make it a trilogy. So then the plan was to end it with number 3, but 3 did good. So they go, okay, we'll do a 4th one. We'll call it The Final Destination. Then that one did great. So they're like, oh, fuck it, do a 5th one.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, they did that with Friday the
13th.
Perfect example.
Like the Who, they've never really retired.
I was just going to say, like a fucking band doing their multiple farewell tours.
Exactly.
No more tours. Retirement sucks tour.
Yeah.
Better hurry. Everybody's dying. So, there goes that reunion.
Yeah, right. That's true.
All right, Dan, what's your number 5?
I'm on the same page with Craig. I mean, overall, this series it's kind of like, okay, the scary thing about these series you have here is that, like, as Jamie said, you don't have a boogeyman, you don't have a chainsaw-wielding maniac. It's not only is it an unknown entity, but what really makes it scary is that, as opposed to Saw, like I can watch Saw and I can say, okay, I love all these different gizmos and gadgets, but I doubt how I'm going to piss somebody off enough. I'm going to be in a bird cage with railroad spikes facing my eyes with a 3-minute egg timer. Okay. This thing with the Final Destination, just to preface my thing, is that it's shit that can happen to you any goddamn day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's accidental stuff that you read about in the newspaper. I mean, I believe there was wasn't there a huge car pileup about a month or two ago in the Midwest with that blizzard?
Yes. Yeah.
Like 60 cars.
Yes.
And this shit happens all the time. That's what makes it scary. But getting back to why number 4, I just found that was weak. First, the CGI is great. I agree with it. The neo-Nazi racist, I don't know, camp counselor, whatever his job was, when he got burned up on the front lawn, that just said, so ironic, such justice. But there's really no significant kills in this film. This is the weakest of all. I think none of these kills really show up in any top 10 lists as far as the top 10 kills. The characters are not very likable, in my opinion. And the opening with the whole thing with the race car track, it just doesn't do it for me. Once again, the CGI had a lot to do with it as well. But I just found it the weakest entry. Yeah, that's all I can say. I think Craig covered most of the data with that.
Okay. Chris?
Okay. It was really close for me. I think without giving anything away, I think 4 and 5 is definitely the worst parts of the franchise. I did go with number 5 as my worst. For me, I kind of judge these movies a big part on the big accident set pieces in the beginning of the movie. And I got to say, of all 5 movies, I disliked the suspension bridge accident the most. I thought it looked the shittiest. I thought it had the most CGI, and it was the fakest looking. I did like that they brought back Tony Todd. I thought the kills sucked in this one over the individual kills after that. I also kind of felt like some of the deaths were kind of mean-spirited. Like in the earlier movies, they were kind of fun, so to speak. But like this would kind of like almost like torture porn, where like the girl is getting LASIK surgery and the fucking laser is melting her eye, and then the creepy guy is getting acupuncture and he keeps falling and getting acupuncture stuck in all his body. Whereas most of the other kills were, I don't know, just funner, and this was more cringy to me. The one thing I did like was that there's a twist in this movie. And you find out at the end of the movie that it was actually a prequel to the first. But I thought the characters, like in the fourth one, were pretty bland and forgettable. And of the 5 films, I did see the first 4 theatrically, and I never saw the 5th one at all. This was a first-time view for me. But it's also really weird as a franchise, because I saw the first 4 in the theater, liked them all, but then never saw them again. Never bought the DVDs, never saw them again on cable, just had no interest to watch them again. This was, one and done for me for all 4 of them. And like I said, I guess I just never bothered with this 5th one.
Cool. Jamie?
All right, I'm going to judge these. I'm going to use math on this because we don't come here for character development or story or cinematography. We come here for the kills. So I'm just going to go through the kills, rate them 1 to 10, then do the average, and that's how I'm going to rank them. But I'm going to do it in a little bit of a different way. I'm going to do them in order, and then give you the average of each one. Then we'll see how they line up as I go through them. So the first one, the plane crash. I hate planes. I hate flying. So consider yourselves special that I flew to come see you guys in October, because I fucking hate flying. These kills, when they work on, your fears, they work well. They work best when they work on your fears and when they have like a little mini story to them. Like, oh, you're going to die that way. Oh, nope, you're going to die that way. So I thought the plane worked on a fear that I had, and it's well done. So I give it an 8. The kid in the bathroom shaving slips and hangs himself on the clothesline over the tub. I feel like if he stood up, he could just save himself. But I was generous. I gave it a 4. Chick walking on a sidewalk and getting hit by a bus. I saw the first 3 movies when they first came out. I never saw the last 2 until recently. That's the only kill I ever remembered. I thought that was great. 22 years ago, I thought it was great. Maybe now I'm a little bit more wise and I would have seen it coming. But back then, I thought it was great. I'm going to give that an 8.5. The older chick listening to John Denver in her house, and her mug is cracking and it drips onto her computer, and then the computer explodes and glass goes into her neck, and then her house catches fire. And then she grabs a towel and the knives come down. That's a lot going on. But I'm going to give it a 7. Stifler getting beheaded by I wrote down Stifler, who I remember being in the movie, getting beheaded by a chain in a running train. I watched this movie like 2 weeks ago. I don't fucking remember that scene at all.
I think it was
running
a license
train. What the hell am I talking
plate.
about in my notes?
Yeah.
I gave it a 4 though. And then you got the douchebag at the end. There's a swinging sign. He saves the one guy, Alex, and then he's like, "Who's next?" And right before the sign hits him, end credits. I'm going to give that a 4. So that's 6 scenes. That is an average of 5.9. So the first one gets a 5.9. We'll see how they all line up. I'll put them in order as we go along.
Jamie put some work into this. All right.
Wow.
So
Nice.
I was going to put I was going to get a scene of each death and put it behind me as I talk about it. I have limits. Putting all that in order, no way would it take me a day and a half.
All right, my number 5 is The Final Destination, the 4th film as well. I will say, so Chris, you mentioned that you saw the first 4 in the theaters. So I think I saw the first one in the theaters, and I rented or bought the second one. I don't think I saw 3 through 5 at all after that. Okay. So when I bought this collection here, I rewatched them all in order, and I think the last 3 were the first time I had ever seen these. I think these are all a lot of fun, some better than others. So the 4th film, you mentioned the racetrack. Yeah, the CGI is kind of shitty. I think there are some decent kills. I like the tire that goes flying through the crowd and decapitates the one person. That's great. I think, the asshole that the racist guy who gets dragged down the street by his truck while he's on fire, that's hilarious. The eye scene is kind of crazy. The woman who gets hit in the eye with the rock that comes flying out of the lawnmower.
Oh, the lawnmower, yeah.
That's pretty good. The guy that gets shredded by the metal fence. The dude who gets crushed by the falling bathtub. I mean, all these just crazy things here. And then, and in the end, the 3 of them getting run over by the truck. I think it's decent. It's just, to me, I don't really give a shit about any of the characters. I totally agree with Craig. I think these films work better when your main character is a female. It just seems that you have a little more sympathy for them. I think most of the main characters in these films that happen to be men, they're dull and just not very interesting. And I just think that even though the kills, I think, in this movie are pretty good, I think there's better ones in the other films. But I will also agree with Chris. I think the last 2 films are definitely the weakest. Spoiler alert there. But the first 3 are in a different league. But they're all kind of fun. So back to Craig.
My number 4, I went with the first one, as Jamie had mentioned, and I did the reverse of Chris. The first one is the only one that I saw theatrically. The other ones I did not. I saw them on HBO or what have you. And this one, the incident, as Jamie said, plane crash. Devon Sawa, Ali Larder in this movie. I'll be honest, I didn't think she looked that great in this movie. Not as compared to kind of like how she looked in Varsity Blues, which was like the year before. Maybe it's because that's how her character was. Again, this works better with a female lead, as Pete had said. I thought the teacher actually was kind of hot in this movie, and there's a recurring theme of a lot of hot chicks in these movies. Yeah, I mean, a lot
of pretty ladies in this series.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Ali Larder, as we are, she returns in part 2, as Jamie had mentioned earlier. Best kill to me was the teacher with the it's like a game of mousetrap, and that scene, I think, was kind of like the blueprint that they used for the rest of the movies going forward. That and the kid in the shower, where there was just this chain of events that would happen for them to die. But this one also, with having the smallest budget out of all 5 of them, had a lot of really quick ones, like the girl getting hit by the bus, or Stifler getting his head cut off, and everything. So they kind of used the wacky events of things of the teacher to going forward to be creative with the kills. And last thing was that I don't know if you watched this on the Blu-rays, if you had it, the original ending of this movie, Devon Sawa's character actually dies. Ali Larder was pregnant, and the jerk guy who gets hit by he survived. They put it in front of a test audience. The test audience hated it and wanted the jerk guy to die. So they had to reshoot. They had to reshoot the entire ending, and they had to take out a love scene, of course, between Sawa and Larder to show her how she got pregnant. All that stuff had to get removed, and they had to reshoot everything to have him live and the jerk guy die at the end. I think that's why at the end, Ali Larder has different hair than she does for the rest of the movie. So yeah, it's kind of like how Fatal Attraction, how test audiences didn't like that Glenn Close lived at the end of the movie, and they had to reshoot it to make her die at the end. So this was one of those test audience movies. But I still enjoy this movie, but it's just I like some of the other ones a little bit better. So yeah, my number 4 is the first movie from 2000.
If I remember correctly, wasn't this one of Ali Larter's first films? Because I think she did the Resident Evil series afterwards, and she looked way hotter in those.
Yeah.
Varsity Blues, I think, was 99, I want to say. That may have been her first movie.
These movies are so old, I forgot how old they are. In the first one, there's a kid sitting by his computer. He wants to see porn. His computer is right there. He reaches in and grabs a magazine instead of going on the computer. I mean, that's how old these movies are.
The first movie is 23 years ago.
Yes.
That's crazy. It's a fucking lifetime ago.
Jeez, you know.
It doesn't feel that old.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
And when I saw this in the movies, I saw this at a matinee. I was one of 3 or 4 people in the entire theater. So it was one of those empty theater experiences.
Yeah. All right, Dan, you're number 4.
I think I saw the first one in the movies, and I think the rest I caught on video or cable, and it wasn't necessarily in order. And that's why, like, when I revisited these things, because I, went out and they had all 5 movies at Walmart for like $17 in Blu-rays. It's cheaper than renting them. So I brought them home. And one thing I will say is, before you go on a trip, okay, do not binge watch these things. Which I did. And to be quite honest with you, I never realized how many escalators are at Newark Airport until after I saw this film, with exposed gears and whatever was going through them. So yes, take these and, this is natural disaster shit. So you got to be really pump the brakes with that. But my number 4 is number 5. What Chris had been, I think that was his number 5. Had the CGI been better, the bridge scene would have been okay. It was good. But what I liked, the few things I liked about this film was that there's a scene, not to give anything away, when they're on the bridge and they set up a red herring where a truck carrying lumber drives by. And I'm going to myself, have they run out of ideas and they think we're that stupid?
That happened in part 2.
It's like 6 years ago. But no, it was a red herring. It just had you think. And then the end where it twists up and it's really a prequel, I had completely forgotten about that. And it said, that was an interesting twist. I enjoyed that. I thought it was interesting. But overall, the film was weaker. And I think when he dies from a piece of the aircraft falling through the roof. I mean, right? That was the end. That's the perfect ending for this. And the last thing is that one of the kills in here is pretty good, and that's the gymnast. Oh, yeah. That's one that will make you. That's one will make you go, "Ow!"
Yeah.
You see that? You did not expect that to happen. I expected that happen. Less than the bus hitting somebody in the middle of a road. So, but that's it. But I still have to give it. I give it a couple of kudos along the way. But overall, it is the 4th or the number 4 on my list.
All right, Chris.
Oh yeah, my number 4 is the 4th movie, The Final Destination from 2009. I think there was some very funny stuff in this. Like, I love when the 2 little kids are complaining about the loudness at the racetrack. So the mom gives them tampons to put in their ears to use as earplugs. I love even though the CGI is a little dodgy in parts, I really enjoyed the Speedway accident, especially when when you think it's over and the flying tire comes out and crushes the girl's head. I also really like that this movie has 2 accident set pieces. There's the raceway in the beginning, and there's the movie theater at the end.
Yes.
And I saw this, in 3D at a movie theater. So it was really that whole kind of meta thing about, well, you're in a theater and these other people are in a theater and it's blowing up and they're getting killed. And I thought that was fun. But yeah, by this point, Port 4 and Port 5, I think watching them was just getting kind of fucking tedious. The characters were forgettable. The CGI does look shitty. And Part 4, if I remember right, had these like cutaways in 3D that just looked fucking terrible. Like in between scenes, for some reason, in 3D, they would put up like a skull and like a fucking lightning bolt behind it, and it looked like the shittiest video game, you know, scene from years ago. But it was from 2009. But yes, so not a great movie. It definitely, in my opinion, like Pete mentioned, 4 and 5 is on the downturn.
Isn't that the one that has like the medical symbol with the snake like wrapped around, where the snake looks totally
Oh
fake.
my god, it's like the worst, the worst fucking, probably a 6-year-old could animate something better than that today.
It was like made for sci-fi bad.
Oh, just terrible.
Jamie.
All right, as I move into the second one, it opens up with a car crash with logs coming undone from a truck. It's very 80s like, because all the cars explode on impact like they're bombs on wheels. That happened a lot in 80s action movies, and then in the 70s, boom, very A-Team like. But I give it a 6.5. Then you got the dude cooking. He gets his hand stuck in the garbage disposal, and then he escapes a fire, only to slide on spaghetti outside, and gets hit in the eye with the fire escape ladder. Some of these death scenes are mini stories within the story. So that one was good. I'm giving that a 7.5. The kid at the dentist. You got water leaking. You got pigeons. One of the pigeons busts through the window without dying somehow, some kind of super pigeon. The one of the plastic fishes from above falls into his mouth. You think he's going to go that way, and someone takes it out. And then the kid goes outside and gets it from a falling glass from a crane. I love the build-up sometimes. Sometimes the death, I go, oh, kind of a letdown. But I'm going to give it a 6.5 because I liked a lot of it leading up to the death. Then you got the dude with hooks in the elevator, and the girl gets beheaded by the elevator. Oh, ridiculous. I'm giving that a 3.5. Girl in car accident, and then she gets the jaws of death, and the jaws of death activates the airbag, and her head goes into the spike. I like that one a lot, so I'm giving that an 8. Explosion, making a barbed wire fence cut the druggy guy into 3. I think I remember that one from way back when too, so I think I remember 2. That's great. I'm giving that an 8. Then you got the dude in the hospital, bed with the ventilator blowing up, 3. And the grill blowing up at the end with the kid, his hand lands onto the plate as they're having a picnic. That's a good finish. So I'm giving that a 7. That's 8 scenes, and with an average of 6.25. So it moves ahead of part 1 to take the number 1 spot so far.
Nice. Chris, this is even more complicated math than you've done on some of the
holy shit,
shows,
yeah.
Math doesn't lie, so this is going to be it.
Yeah.
Did you use a scientific calculator at least for this, or just a regular one?
My calculator app.
Nice.
Texas Instrument.
Yeah. All right, my number 4 is Final Destination 5. I don't think the overall setup for this, this bunch of people from the company going on a retreat, and the one guy's the cook, and it's who cares, whatever. That whole climactic scene there at the beginning isn't great with the bridge. It's like, it's okay, but there are some fun kills here. When I watched this recently, I must have rewound that gymnastic scene like 5 times.
Slow motion, whatever.
Back snaps, and you're like, oh man, that does not look like fun, right? The guy that gets killed in the massage session, right, with the statue falling on his head. One other guy gets impaled by a hook. They're all pretty fun, but for me, what I love so much about this movie is I think the twist at the end is great, because you didn't see that coming at all. And it's funny because we get so many prequels to so many franchise films, and so much so they spend so much backstory trying to set up where the first film. I mean, there's none of that here. They just throw it at you at the end. It's like, well, this is happening right as the first movie it begins, right?
And it is interesting, Pete, because they do in most of the other movies, right? They reference Flight 180 and blah blah blah. Yeah, they didn't in this one until
that's why
you get to the end, which makes the twist so unique.
Yeah, very cool. And I like Dan's kind of comment about how at the beginning of the film you do see the logger truck, right? So it's almost like they threw that there just to give you a hint that this is, we're going to try and remind you of the other films. This is a prequel. We're not going to tell you that till the end, right? So yeah, very cool. I think that elevated this film a little bit for me. I think because that was a pretty clever ending.
A couple of key moments make it interesting. Overall, though, it's weak.
I don't know how you guys felt, but man, when I was watching the fifth one, the whole time the blonde girl, I'm like, God, she is so familiar. What do I know? And then I looked it up afterwards. I was like, oh, holy shit, she was in the first season of Walking Dead. I completely forgot about her.
Oh, what's Lori? Oh, I didn't know.
She was Andrea's younger sister who gets killed.
Okay. Wow. All right.
The second, third, fourth episode. I forget.
Only in the first episode or first 2 or 3 episodes, right?
First couple episodes,
14 years ago.
Or longer, right? I mean, I don't. When was Walking Dead? It was
2010. So that was this is before.
Yeah. Part 5 is 2011. So
yeah, interesting. Cool. All right, Craig, back to you. Number 3.
My part 5 is 2000 is number 5. I gave this a little bit of extra oomph because of the twists that you guys mentioned with the I appreciated that besides the ending letting you know that it's a prequel. I also appreciated that they tried to do a smidge of something different with having the one guy actually kill other people to bump himself to break the chain of events.
That's a good point.
I thought they gave it, they tried at least to do something a little bit different. Again, mistake having the lead character in this being a guy. I didn't fucking get it either. He works in an office and he's a chef. Yeah. I didn't get that. That was totally confusing.
Wow.
The lead character. The lead character should have been the hot slutty girl with the glasses, who was getting the LASIK. She should have been the main character in this movie because she at least had some charisma in it, way more than the other people. The gymnastics.
Come on, Craig, admit it. You just wanted her to take her top off. That's it.
I did. I mean, well, the one part she right there in the parking lot, in the beginning of the movie, and it's like, but
they're called tits.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yes,
but
that's right.
The gymnastics girl part, I mean, the ending where she gets squished is really cool. But for me, when she's just stepping on that screw, I mean, how many of us are like you're walking around in the dark and you step on something, or if you have,
it's like stepping on a Lego,
or if you perhaps have stepped on a nail in real life, like out in the yard when you're playing or something when you were a kid. Yeah, that actually was worse than knowing her squish coming off of the balance beam there. And I did think it was funny that the jerk guy in this movie, who was for me at least the familiar face, he was in The Wolf of Wall Street and he played Rugrat in that, where he gets acupunctured and then is squished by the giant Buddha statue coming down onto his head. I thought that was really funny, and just all the banter that he was having with the Asian old lady masseuse, which I thought that was funny. So, but all in all, that one, it comes in right in the middle for me. The fifth one, Final Destination 5 was my number 3.
Cool. Dan.
I'm going to go with Final Destination 3 as my third. 3 and 3. I kind of like. I personally, I like some of the kills in this film. I love the weight room kill where the guy's head gets crushed. There's something about exercise equipment and gymnastics things that, for some reason, is the most dangerous thing in the whole planet. I mean, other than escalators, but they had a good kill there. And I think the other kill was what? Oh God, nail gun. For some reason, it was the nail gun. What got me about the whole thing with the nail gun, that was in the mall and the construction side, I believe. Sometimes these films blend into me with each other. But the nail gun was like a chrome nail gun, if I'm not mistaken, like a shiny, highly polished chrome nail gun. No such thing exists. They made that for the movie. Because when I saw it, I'm going like, God, is that, because I do building, and I'm going, God, that looks so hot. Where can I get one of these? This part of the Martha Stewart collection, and it was this chrome. I looked, no such thing exists. So heartbroken over that. So that's why then going down to number 3. But overall, the opening with the what's it called, the roller coaster, things that people get feared of, people falling off and falling. So overall, once again, same thing going along. There's really no endearing characters in my estimation with this. The kills are good, above average on some of the ones, but it's number 3. It sits dead in the middle. So I know somebody else is going to want to talk about the film. So boom, more plot holes to fill.
Exactly. Chris, number 3.
For me, my number 3, I'm going with the original, Final Destination from 2000. I mean, I think it's a good movie. It's a fun movie. But I think what you guys said earlier was right. These movies work better when the lead is a female, and in this one, Devon Soya is kind of the lead character, and he's like sort of like a teenager, but he looks like he's 40 years old. I like Ali Larder, so I wanted more of her in this. Yeah, like Craig said, all right, she's not as hot as she is later on, but I thought that was part of the character. Like she was like the meek, quiet, nerdy girl. I do like the plane crash part, and like Dan said, I actually watched this movie the night before I had to fly to Florida for work. So I did laugh, like, oh, this is pretty funny. This is not a movie that you would want to watch on a plane, because I flew JetBlue, and they have the TV with like tons of movies and just regular cable that you could just watch. But I'm like, yeah, this would not be good for watching on the plane. But yeah, overall, it's not my favorite, but it's still pretty good, and so that's my number 3.
All right, Jamie.
Well, I'm on number 3, and you got the roller coaster and I'm pretty sure everyone was getting onto the roller coaster, they have the voice, welcome to this ride voice. I'm pretty sure that
was Tony Todd.
That is Tony Todd. Yeah, I interviewed Tony Todd when the 3rd movie came out, or right before, and he's like, well, yeah, I'm kind of not in it. I just do the voiceover.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, okay.
But I think it's well done. It's pretty terrifying. Plays on people's fears of roller coaster going off the tracks and stuff. I'm going to give that an 8.5. 2 hot chicks in the tanning bed singing Roller Coaster of Love.
That's good.
They get burned alive in there, of course. I'm going to give it a 6.5, but because they got topless, I'm giving it an 8.
One of them had an amazing rack.
8.
They both
incredible.
And if you look at the 8 and kind of put it this way, it kind of looks like a rack. So good number to have. The drive-through with the creepy guy getting the motor propeller in his head, 5.5. Yeah. Football player working out. This is ridiculous to have hanging swords in a workout room loosely over this equipment that it could easily be hit. Oh, it's so stupid. I'm giving that a 3. Chick at the Home Depot with the nail gun. Dan was looking at the nail gun and not the chick. 6.5. Fireworks display where the flagpole goes through the flying into the chick. Yeah, 4. The lead singer, Buck Cherry, getting smashed by a sign. Dude looks like Josh Todd. And it's pathetic that I know the lead singer's name of Buck Cherry.
He looked like Josh Todd washed in cold because he was like so small.
Yeah, exactly. He shrunk a little bit. I'm giving that a 3.5. And the subway crash where the last 3 people just so happen to be on the same train, of course, but I think it's well done. A number 7. I'm giving that a 7. So you have 8 scenes. That averages out to where is it going to land? Where's it going to land? Right there at 5.75 in 3rd place so far. If these movies were chicks, they wouldn't be very hot, would they? If we're grading on 1 to 10. But that's the scores.
All right.
Women with
3 is the first.
Never been better than Pamela Anderson. Pamela Anderson in Home Improvement. So doesn't matter.
Sometimes I forget she was in that.
There you go. I remember.
Doris Pepperidge Farm.
Yeah.
You're right. Oh, we lost him.
We lost him.
Yes.
Sorry, I meant to hit mute.
What?
I meant to hit mute. I hit the video, but
All right, first film is number 3 for me. Yeah, it's a good film. Plane Crash is good. I think the cast is somewhat likable in this film. Ali Larter is great in the film. The flying signs, the decapitations, all pretty cool. Getting run over by the bus, getting impaled by a kitchen knife. I think the kills are not as inventive as they would get in the next couple of films, but there's a certain charm about this one. It's the one we all saw first, and I still think it holds up pretty well. It holds up pretty well. I think the film's got a little more extravagant. They had more money coming later on, but I think for me, this one sits right in the middle of the pack. Could even be lower. I don't know. Maybe doesn't have the fun factor of like the 5th film, but I still think overall it's a little bit better of a film. So that's number 3 for me. Back to Craig. The top 2, the final 2.
All right, my number 2 is number 2, and traffic accident, as we've all said. Ali Larter returns from number 1. This one had just a lot. I think it had a lot of good kills in it. The main girl in this, female lead, AJ Cook. Oh my God, is she hot? I was watching this going, Jesus fucking Christ, is she hot? And then of course I had to look it up, and here she's been on Criminal Minds on TV for 300 plus episodes. No idea.
I'd had DVD set and start binge watching.
No idea. And she was also on season 1 of True Calling, which I did not watch.
Oh, with Eliza Dushku.
But she looks even better now if you Google pictures of her than what she did in this movie 20 years ago. But anyway, fun kills in this. The lottery winning kid who just a wacky chain of events of getting his watch stuck in the garbage disposal, the ladder hitting him, the kid squished by the glass outside the dentist's office, as Jamie had mentioned earlier. Girl stuck in the car was just great. I thought with the airbag hitting her, the doper guy is like bisected in that with barbed wire, and I thought it was really funny at the end with the kid was barbecuing and he blew up. I thought that was really funny at the end. I kind of didn't really see that part coming, but this one was a lot of fun, yeah, I enjoyed number 2 quite a bit. So yeah, but that was my number 2.
Cool. Dan.
Okay, my number 2 is number 1. I think number 1 doesn't have as much hidden humor as some of the later. They didn't take themselves seriously as they went on. They kind of look in a satirical way as the later films. This one is straightforward, plane crash, simple, this, that, and the other. The redeeming fact about it, you have Ali Larter, you have some characters you're developing, and I believe like the kills. The one strangulation in the shower, I'm like, you could have grabbed something. And that just seemed pretty hopeless. You're going to strangle yourself that way in a thing. The other one was death by frozen vodka. I just think that had this Rube Goldberg. I think that was a number 1, correct? With the drinks, correct? Or is that 1 or 2? God damn it. The girl of the drink and the computer, the fire, she gets impaled. She gets
the teacher. The teacher.
Yeah, the teacher.
Yeah, that's
the first one, right?
That's one, right? I just like the whole thing how they're broken up. Here it is. She goes right into the house, good-looking woman, goes to the freezer, grabs a bottle of vodka. Meanwhile, I'm saying, like, where is this woman in my life? Why isn't she in my life? But number 2, she gets it. She pours it in a coffee mug, which, it cracks, it drips, it goes across. It almost turns into like kind of like a slapstick.
Oh, for sure.
And then it goes through the whole thing. The fire goes back. It burns up on the stove. The stove catches fire. She falls, and then she ends up getting impaled by a knife, which has nothing to do with the fire, the vodka, the whole thing. Just the way we're like a Rube Goldberg adventure, like Mousetrap, the game.
It's Craig mentioned that right on the nose.
Yeah, and bang. And it's like, I just think that is one of the best kills of the whole thing. But once again, the film, I didn't give it number 1 because it does lack on a couple of levels. I think the plane thing, everybody's fear is still kind of like rudimentary compared to what goes on later the elaborate accidents, but it does set the stage, and it sets up the whole thing. And the interesting irony of the whole thing, if I'm not mistaken, was the hero, or the guy that survived in number one. He's not in the second film, I believe.
No.
Right, but he's not in, and you find out with all this shit, he was in a. I think he's in a cabin, like wearing mittens with rubber boots so he doesn't electrocute himself, like sitting in the middle of nowhere with no electricity. And he manages to get himself killed between movie 1 and 2, since they couldn't negotiate a contract for him, okay, by a falling brick. Single falling brick hit him in the head. And the only reason you see it in a newspaper. And you're going like, oh my God. So, but overall, it's fun. Not number one, but it sets the stage.
Yeah, it does. Chris, your number 2.
My number 2 is Final Destination 3 from 2006. I think the roller coaster accident is really, really good and fun. It's interesting how everyone gets killed in it. I also really like how in this one, again, there's a second accident set piece at the end with the subway. And I think the subway accident is really well done. I think I didn't like that Tony Todd only did the voiceover. I think Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who's the lead, is cute as a button. But holy shit, not to shit all over Craig's girl from the other movie.
Wow.
But the younger sister in Final Destination 3.
That's coming up for me.
Amanda Crew. Holy Christ, I think she's the hottest girl in this whole series. I had to look her up. Yeah, she's still acting. She's doing a whole bunch of shit. I'm like, wow, this girl is gorgeous. I would watch other stuff with her just because she's so damn cute. But yeah, not my favorite, but pretty close. Final Destination 3.
Jamie, your next analysis. Killing it.
All right, we're moving right along. Well, on to the Final Destination, which is the 4th part. Racetrack scene, as you guys said, over the top and cheap looking. Look, I'm a bit forgiving on the CGI on these movies because, they don't have Disney money and they're kind of old movies. That one, the CGI looks really bad. So 3.5. Racist guy getting it, being dragged by his tow truck, being burned. I give it a 5, but because it felt a little liberating, boosted up to a 5.5. Mom at the hair salon. There's a million ways that you think she's gonna die, but then as she's leaving, she turns around and she's about to get it. You could just tell by the way it's framed, the shot, and she goes, "I got my eye on you," on her kids, and you're like, here it comes through the eye. So, you know what? I like it for the line, so I'm giving it a 6. The mechanic getting an air tank shot into his gut, 3. The male horse stuck at the bottom of the pool, and his innards get sucked out and into the pump. I'll go, I was going to go 5, but, it keeps cutting back to the dumb chick in the car wash during that scene. It keeps going back and forth. And that chick in the car wash, I just feel like she's not trying enough to get out of the car. I feel like she can open the door and get out.
Yeah.
So it kind of, I'm going from 5 down to a 4.5 because of the cutting back to that scene. The cowboy in the hospital with the tub falls from the level above him. The cheapest floors ever in any hospital ever. That's
right, especially since there's a bathtub,
Yeah. And the old man and 2.5. Ridiculous. Security guy getting hit by the ambulance, too much like the chick in part 1 with the bus. Just too much. We already did that, but I'll give it a 3. The chick in the exploding movie theater. This is where I think they really dropped the ball for me. If you got your characters watching a 3D movie, the things you can do, I would have had a truck coming towards them in a movie and then a truck come through the wall at the same time.
Just like in Bachelor Party.
Yeah. But
and it wasn't it like a love story? They saw in the theater. It was like,
yeah, it's like a chick
walking
flick,
through or something. I'm like, what? Who would fucking see a love story in 3D? That sounds terrible. Listen, it's porn. That sounds terrible.
Is that even happen?
And how many love stories have explosions in the movie?
Yeah,
I don't know. So I'm giving that a big fat 2. Girl getting eaten by the escalator. You know, I had a fear of the escalators when I was 4, Dan. I grew out of it. I'm giving it a 5. All 3 survivors getting hit by a semi truck while drinking the coffee is awful. The dumb animation, as I think Craig said, of the skeletons dying. It's awful. It's an awful way to finish the movie. I'm giving that a big fat 1, the only 1 in all of this. That's 10 death scenes, and it averages a whopping 3.6 at last place. So there you go. We'll see how 5 does.
If that was a girl, she'd be a 2-bagger.
Oh, yeah. It's like you need a 6-pack. You need about 8 beers. You need about 10. There's the case, and maybe a little bit of weed.
It's blackout.
Blackout.
But then you got
chew your arm off in the morning.
What were you saying, Chris?
Then you got whiskey dick if you drink that much. So.
Right. Exactly.
So going into this, I fully expected my number 2 to be number 1. And after I kind of watched these all, it got bumped out of the number 1 spot. So my number 2 is Final Destination 2, which takes place a year after the first film. You know, this girl and their friends traveling to Florida for spring break. Of course, that's not going to end well, right? She has the premonition in the car of this big deadly pileup. Let's pull over. Oh my God, this is going to happen. And then what happens? The pileup happens. I think the login truck thing is spectacular. I think, this movie arguably has the most spectacular kills of the entire series. The guy getting impaled by the fire escape ladder. The elevator decapitation is amazing. The pipe impalement, barbed wire fence dismemberments. I mean, all sorts, like the gas grill explosion. I mean, you can just add them all up. It's loads of fun. But I think my number 1, I think I just enjoy a little bit more, but this I wouldn't argue anybody picking this as their number 1, because for years and years, I thought that this was the greatest Final Destination film of the ones I had seen. And it's damn near close to it. So, number 2.
He was.
He's not frozen.
Is Pete frozen
now?
We heard you.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. My internet said it's been wonky, so I'm not sure. That always happens late at night. I don't know why. So
everybody's watching porn, ties up the lines.
I guess so. I don't know.
Sorry, Pete.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Craig will be doing that next week, which was that Criminal Minds episode. So that'll
Nice.
plus things up at 11 o'clock.
Number 2, yeah,
300 episodes. That's a lot to cram.
Hottest chick in all these movies.
It's a lot of binging.
All right, number 1. What do you got, Craig?
My number 1 was number 3 with the roller coaster crash. The hottest girls in this, I thought had the best kills. Really likable lead with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Other familiar faces in this, and that's where this is fun. The main guy in this, his name is Ryan Merriman. Name's not familiar, but I saw that he's in a movie, a Lifetime movie that I've seen like 1,000 times with the missus, called Elevator Girl. It has Lacey Chabert in it, and Chris knows who that is. Watched a lot of Lifetime movies with my wife, and so but yeah, he's the main character in that. Amanda Crew, who plays Mary Elizabeth Winstead's sister, the girl that Chris was referring to. She was in Silicon Valley, and actually just the other night when I was put the TV on, she was in I believe it's called Charlie St. Cloud with Zac Efron. I just happened to see her face. I was like, hey, Final Destination 3, hot girl. She's in that. And last, one of the girls who dies in the roller coaster, her name's Gina Holden. She was in a Lifetime movie that I saw called Sleeping with My Student, which you have to see because she's like a smoking hot MILF in that. By the time this got after this movie's from 2006, Final Destination 3. She later on made a movie, Sleeping with My Student, which is probably her Sophie's choice of movies. But best kills in this, the 2 bimbos in the tanning salon is great. And then even the overhead shot then where you see like their coffins, it looks like the tanning beds. I mean, you have to give it points for that. The guy who's getting his head squished with the weights, I think is funny only because I've been to a lot of gyms that actually have the weights up like that. They're called hammer strength machines. And when I was watching that, I just always thought, it's like, what if someone's head was squished between the 45 pounders, going through that. And the guy in the drive-through, the Motorhead, we're getting that, I thought was great. The Home Depot nail gun, Carnival squished. I thought this one was a lot of fun, and it's one of those movies I think where if for me at least, if I just happen to be just like part 2 also, if I happen to be flipping the channels and it's on, I can sit there and watch it from whatever point it is and just enjoy it. But
when you're not watching Lifetime, that is.
Well, only with the missus,
It sounds like I gotta watch Elevator Girl now. So
you have to. It's
the upcoming Criminal Minds marathon. So
yes. Well, my wife doesn't like to watch a lot of these movies with me, but we'll watch the Lifetime movies, like Psycho Gym Instructor, Psycho Coffee Barista, they have
these are real movies?
Yes, they have all these wacky movies on there.
Lifetime is like must-see TV now, right?
I was just gonna say that sounds great.
Yeah, you guys would probably love them. They're
raising the bar.
A lot of fun.
Crazy.
It's not just.
No.
Just
all right, Dan, you're number 1.
My number 1 is number 2. And I pretty much, Peter, you summed it all up pretty well. I think number 1, they'd gotten through number 1. Number 2 comes up. Now let's refine this and make it more intricate and thought out with these kills. And it does have, I think, overall the best kills in the whole series combined. My favorite, once again, another mousetrap moment. The guy that gets his hand caught in the sink and the thing's on fire. He goes, he's going to burn up this. He runs out, he climbs out and falls on the bottom. We all know what happens. I mean, just some stupid mishap, that made me laugh. But overall, that's, putting it in a nutshell, really, Peter summed it up. And it's number 2 is for me overall. And the car crash scene, I think, is the best overall disaster part of all the films combined, the way that plays out. So there you go. Number 2 is number 1.
Number 2, number 1. All right, Chris?
I completely agree with Dan. Number 2 is my number 1. I love how they brought back Ali Larter, Tony Todd. I like how they made the kills better, like both you and Dan both said. I also like how they took the movie took the franchise in a less serious direction. It was more tongue-in-cheek in the second movie. Jamie had first mentioned that these movies play on your fears. And, to me, the logging scene is the number 1 greatest accident scene in this movie, probably because I drive a car every day. I don't go on a roller coaster or an airplane every day. I don't drive across a suspension bridge every day. But almost every day I'm on a highway. And even though I saw this movie, I haven't seen this movie in 22 years. Every time that I'm on the fucking highway and I see a truck carrying logs or lumber, in my head I always think Final Destination.
Or other cars, when they have the cars.
Car carrier.
Exactly.
Anything stacked up, yep.
Always think of that. And I always, too, remember the single biggest laugh I ever had in a movie theater ever was back in 2003 when I saw this in the theater. The end barbecue scene where the kid just fucking blows up by the barbecue grill. Did not see it coming. Absolutely killed me. I never laughed so hard in a movie. And when I just rewatched it the other day, that's when I put it together. I go, oh, he was supposed to be killed earlier in the movie, and the other guy saved him. So I'm like, oh, now I get it. But the first time I didn't. I totally missed that part. But I thought it was just the funniest fucking thing when the kid randomly blows up. But yeah, that's my of the 5. That's definitely my favorite. Is number 2.
And speaking, just to interject, talking about like the logging thing. When you think about anybody that drives anywhere long distances, or how many times have you been behind, let's say, a gravel truck
Yes.
One little piece of gravel falls off that truck and will put a spider crack in your windshield. So now you can imagine something like a log or Ron Jeremy's penis smashing through your windshield, and impaling.
Ron Jeremy's penis, that would be kind of tough because he'd need to throw it out a window or something. But no, you're right. Anything randomly flying,
these things happen all the time, and you're always saying, God damn it, my thing is cracked, but it's a little thing. So it can be any number of things. So once again, plays off real disasters.
Or a couple idiots who have a mattress strapped to the top of their car. Or,
totally.
They could be drinking while they're doing it. It's on there good.
Not even strapped. They're holding it by the strap.
Yeah. Driving with
it. Hoping they get sucked out the window,
Or refrigerators standing upright in a pickup truck while they're driving 70 down the highway.
God.
You got Fred Sanford in front of you.
Yeah, we're all going to be watching all around us in the car over the next couple of days as we're driving around after this conversation, right? All right, Jamie.
I should say that I actually bought the series on DVD for like $10 at Walmart because it had a glow-in-the-dark cover. Now, I'm a sucker for glow-in-the-dark covers, but it sits in a when are you ever? I don't sit in the dark.
I was going to say, good point. When are you going to see
it? Look at it. It's not on display in the dark, so I don't know. I have t-shirts that glow in the dark too. I'm like, I'm never in the dark with people. We're never hanging out in the dark. So why do they need to glow in the dark? I don't know.
Maybe so often you pull it on a shelf and turn the lights off and stare at it, then put it back.
Right. Yeah. I'm just a sucker for it for some reason. But the fifth one, now here it is with the bridge collapsing. I like it more than you guys because I'm forgiving with the CGI. And I thought it was okay. When the girl gets speared by the sailboat, I was thinking, was this in 3D? This looks like it might have been in 3D. Did you guys say it was in 3D?
It looked like it to me, Jimmy, but this was the only one I didn't see in the theater, but it sure looked like it was.
It looked like it was made to be.
Well, remember, the very end of part 5 has clips from all the other movies in 3D to AC/DC's If You Want Blood.
Right.
You Got It.
Yes. Okay. All right. It kind of reminded me, that bridge scene reminded me a little bit of Lord of the Rings when the bridge was collapsing. But I liked it. I was very forgiving on the effects, but so I gave it an 8.5. I was on the edge of my seat because you don't know who's going to live and who's going to die, but it's the Vision, so everyone's going to die. So, the gymnast. Here's the thing with the gymnast. You guys love it. The things work best for me when I find them believable, and I just didn't find it believable. The dust goes in her face and she goes flying and gets cracked in two. It's kind of funny, but gave it a 3.5. I'm sorry. Maybe I need to watch it 3 times like Pete, and maybe I'll enjoy it more. I don't know. I
think it was more the shock value with that one. You did not expect that.
Yeah, I did like the build up of the tack or the screw and everything, but then the execution at the end, I'm like, really? I don't know if that's even possible. The tool at the massage parlor, I don't like needles. So when he fell with all those needles in him, it works on a fear of mine. But right when he walked in and said, "Hi, Buddha, you lay off the rice cakes," I'm like, Buddha's going to get him, right away. So it's kind of predictable.
If anybody deserved to die, it's him.
For the needles, I'm giving it 6.5 because needles bother me. And it goes right into another thing that bothers me a lot. The skinny, tall chick getting the eye surgery, corrective eye surgery.
Yep.
They give her the Clockwork Orange thing in her eye, which I absolutely hate. I hate that scene in Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
I don't get that surgery because I couldn't sit through it. So the more it bothers me, the more I enjoy it. I found it very uneasy. But it's funny how, again, the windows in this franchise, pigeons can go through them. She can bump into the window and it shatters like brittle candy or something. She goes flying out the window. I let the window scene slide because that happens in a lot of movies. I'm going to give it a 7. The factory guy with the hook in his head, pretty fast kill. That's just a 4. Anchorman, the sports guy from Anchorman, the funny guy. He gets a wrench in the head. Yeah, what's his name? I always forget his name.
David Koechner.
Every time he shows up in the movie, you're not, he's going to be funny. That was like a real fast kill too. 3.5. It's almost like they're like, let's get these kills going and get this movie over with. Cop getting shot by the bushy eyebrow Tom Cruise wannabe. Quickest kill in the franchise, 2.5. And then the last two survivors on the plane, it makes the whole movie a sequel. I'm like, wow, they've actually finally put a little thought into the story and not just the kills. You know what? I'm going to give that a motherfucking 10. 10. Because I did not see it coming and I thought it was great. But then the last guy's in the bar and he gets hit by the falling debris. It's okay, but that kind of reminded me of, you just had the plane and you go, whoa, that's great. End it. It's like the album that ends with the big 8-minute epic. Boom, what an ending to an album. Here's a bonus track. Fuck the bonus track. You just ended it on a great note. I don't need the bonus track. That last kill is the bonus track of this movie. But it is falling debris. I'll give it a 4.5. So there's 9 scenes. There is a 10 in here. So can it overcome it all? Oh, it gets a 5.5. So it comes in second to last. So there it is. 2, 1, 3, 5, and 4. And now that it doesn't really matter, I think Ali Lauder is really hot in part 2, like super hot. So I'm going to give that an extra point because it doesn't matter. 7.5 for Ali Lauder. And the rest, there you go.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many kills in these movies. Like, why not just grade them based on that, right? Because I think even when I look at my rating, my top 2 are the ones where I like the kills the most. That's what it comes down to. So,
I mean, most people couldn't argue with that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you take into account characters and other things. So.
Yeah, two is my favorite.
Yeah. All right.
3 had more hot girls, so that should jump 1. Mm-hmm.
I will say, when I was binge watching this, all the dudes and all the chicks in every movie, they started looking the same to me. All the hot chicks kind of started looking the same. All the douchey dudes.
The characters had little to no redeeming quality. I mean, they really weren't very. Talk about having shallow characters.
Yeah, they're all the same character. They're all.
I was gonna say, it does seem like all of us had 4 and 5 as the last 2, right?
Yeah,
I had 5 as number 3, but yeah.
Like I said, number 5 to redeem that was the whole thing about it's a prequel and the
that was pretty small.
Red herring.
And the guy killing the other people to jump the chain.
That was I like that as well.
And I'm glad you brought up that he was in the office and a cook because
I didn't put that together.
I was watching it going,
you're right. Holy
night
shit.
job, or
because I was like, why is he working in the office? It's like, I guess for the benefits, but then but obviously he was going to Paris.
Right. He was trying to get the job in Paris.
And then, like I said, all these characters started looking alike to me. I'm like, is this 2 different characters? Am I right? I'm just losing my mind. No, it's the same guy.
Yeah. What I think is interesting about this franchise, I tend to, with a lot of these franchises, after a while, I'm just kind of like, stop making these movies already. It's like the law of diminishing returns, right? These are all pretty good. And when I was reading up that they're like looking to make another one, I'm like,
I heard straight to HBO Max, maybe, if they do it.
Yeah, hey, why not, right?
I mean, the thing is, I think they lost a lot of the actors along the way with the parts and stuff because I really don't think they had a plan even to do a trilogy. Yeah. Let's just make a film, and then also it made so much money, and this is also New Line Cinema, which is the home of Freddy Krueger. Right. So they're big into the sequel thing. So they just kept, by the time they made the second film, that's why the actor from the first film was not in it, because they're on a TV show now, or they're doing something else. So I think that's why there's a little bit of an inconsistency, and that's why you really don't get to develop any characters. The closest you get developing a character is Ali Lauder. That's pretty much it.
And I still say they shouldn't have, maybe just because she's hot. I was like, man, you shouldn't have killed her in the second one.
Yeah, that seemed like a weird kill.
I mean, it could be like Heather Langenkamp coming back for Hellraiser for the next 30 years, or what,
And her kill was weak too, opening the door.
She just like blew up in the hospital or something.
Yeah. I should have said that in my kills. I kind of forgot to include her in that kill.
Yeah, she was like an afterthought. So
yeah.
Although was it the 4th movie or the 5th movie when a character is driving somewhere and they pass a sign that says Clear Rivers Water?
Yeah,
that was the name of her character in the first 2 movies. I forget it was the 4th movie or the 5th movie.
Yeah, one of them. I
Yeah,
think
and I noticed too, there was a similarity in like one of the films. The name of the school was the same as the last name of a character in another film. They did a lot of that from film to film, which I thought was kind of strange, you know.
Or was the name of the car wash like Clear Rivers or something like that? That the girl was stuck in.
Yeah. We could probably find all sorts of interesting factoids if we go back and
Death by hot wax.
Yeah, exactly.
Touch free.
So here you have it, everybody. Ranking the films in the Final Destination film series. In the comments below, rank them as you like them. If you haven't seen any of these or any at all, I highly recommend checking them out. These are actually a lot of fun if you like this sort of thing. So go watch them. Let us know what you think down there. Down below, Jamie, in the comments below somewhere. And visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Stay tuned tomorrow morning. We got Friday Morning at the Funhouse with myself and Martin Popoff coming up. We've also got this month's edition of 4 Fusion Friday. And over the weekend, we've got Ranking the Albums coming up on Sunday, where I will be ranking the albums of Caius. So that's coming up this weekend. And all sorts of stuff happening next week as well. So but we'll see you here on the Monsters Den in 2 weeks. Till then, for Jamie Laszlo, Dan Brown, Chris Allo, and Craig Kaminski, I'm Pete Pardo. Good night, everyone, from the Monsters.
Good night.
So my number one is Final Destination 3. So I just think that to me, this is the most fun film. I like the whole amusement park thing. I love that big disaster and crash. I think it's really, really well done. I love the scene with the two hot chicks in the tanning salon and tanning beds. I think that is really well done. The guy that gets kind of hit in the drive-through line of the fast food place where he gets his top of his head cut off. I think that is great. The dude getting his head crushed at the gym with the weights, fantastic. The flagpole impalement, the nail gun to the head. To me, this movie is just fun. What I like about it, this to me seems more like a typical 80s slasher, even though we talked about how these aren't slasher films, but you have one by one, all these people are getting taken down, spectacular kills, hot chicks. It's this film kind of has it all for me. And I like the actors in this film. And I think the lead actress, she's really fun to watch, and I think you kind of believe in her a little bit, and I think it works out well. And I really was believed, like at the beginning. At first, I was kind of like, God, how much is she going to whine and cry that she doesn't want to go, and she doesn't like amusement parks, doesn't like roller coasters. I don't either, but I just say fuck it, I'm not going. But she's like, oh, I'll go on it. I don't really feel comfortable. And then she has the premonition, then she whines and cries. But after that, for the rest of the film, I totally was like believing in her character. So even though I didn't really care much for her best friend's boyfriend, who also doesn't get killed, and he just kind of follows her around. The two of them form like a little partnership and start doing all the research about the plane crash. And but I think this one is a lot of fun. But for me, the first my number one and number two, which is number 3 and number 2, are head and shoulders the best films in this series. So that's my number one.
All righty.